like a Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for another Sega Saturn review, where today we're taking a look at the game that finished second in a poll I posted a few weeks back. That game is known as Scorcher. It's a futuristic motorcycle racing game set in the year 2021. So Scorcher was released in mid-1997 on the Saturn. It also saw a release on the PC, and it got quite mixed receptions when it was released, in all fairness. But we're not going to be talking about those. I'm going to be doing my own review, and of course I'll be talking about how it looks, how it sounds, how it plays, what kind of content and lifespan it's got, and whether it is still worth playing today and can make our Sega Saturn top 10. So once the main menu hits, you'll see you've got start, race and options. Heading into options, you can do your standard stuff like change the difficulty, you can check the controls, you can check the sound setup, you can go through the high scores and check those as well, and you can also listen to the 6 tracks available within the game too. So with all of that out of the way, it's time to get on with the way Scorcher looks, and thankfully Scorcher is a pretty impressive looking racing game on the system. In my opinion, it's one of the best looking racing games on the entire console. The tracks in particular, they're quite clear, crisp, sharp, pretty well detailed, and the draw distance is actually pretty good as well in the game. The game runs pretty good too. There is a bit of slowdown, perhaps on one course. I think it's course 5 at some point during the race, but other than that, the game runs really well and looks really good too. Now that doesn't mean the game looks perfect. It's hindered by the fact the game is very, very dark. It doesn't matter which course you're playing. The game is just too dark for my liking, in my opinion, and it also affects how much of the track you can see because it's dark in the background too, and it sort of like fades into view as you progress through each race, and I don't like it. I wish there was a way that some of the tracks could have been done in the daytime. I think that would have given us a real much better indication of how good the game is graphically, but as it is, we take it for what it is. It's quite a dark, dingy, grim looking racing game, but it is detailed, the tracks look good, and it does run pretty decent overall. So moving on to sound effects and music, and this part of the game is a really topsy-turvy affair because the sound effects within the game are really, really lacking. There just isn't enough, and it really gives the game a lack of atmosphere, in all fairness. You get sound effects for when you jump, when you go over the power-ups for your jump or your boost, and that's pretty much it. There's hardly any other sound effects within the game, and it's an absolute crippler in my opinion. Now, on the contrary to this, we've got fantastic musical tracks for the game because they really suit the setting of the game. The futuristic style setting for the races is met wonderfully well with the futuristic style high-tempo themes that we get for each track as well. They're really similar to the kind of music you'd expect in Wipeout, so the best thing I can do is give you some examples. So moving on to the way Scorcher plays next, and it controls pretty well in all fairness. B is accelerate, C is jump, A uses your boosters, R and L do hard turns in those directions, down on the D-pad will slow you down, and obviously you steer right to left with the D-pad too. So for all intent purposes, it plays pretty well, and it actually controls pretty well as well. But there are some massive fundamental flaws with the designs of the courses because they are bone-cripplingly hard to navigate, and there's nothing that you can do about this. If you put the game on easy, the game is still ridiculously difficult and it becomes so unbearable to play that it almost just kills any enjoyment that the game can give you. There are holes in all the traps, there are just sides that you just fly off, especially if you go on boosters and they just send you at ridiculous speeds and you just fly off the edge, and it is frustrating. There is horrible slime that you can fall in on some of them. There are obstacles which can slow you down. You can just hit brick walls or objects on the track and be stuck there still, whilst the CPU has no problem navigating past all of these and getting massive and massive leads over you in every single race. It is really hard to win races on this game, even on the first course. It's very, very frustrating. And if you want to see course 5 and 6 because they're hidden at the start of the game, the chances are you're probably just going to have to put the code in just so you can have a go on them, because just trying to get through the championship mode to do all 6 races, it's frustrating because of how difficult some of those races are. So in the gameplay department, Scorcher has some fundamental flaws. So in terms of content, we've got Championship, Time Attack and Practice. They are pretty self-explanatory. We've got 6 courses to pick from as well. 4 are available at the start. Tracks 5 and 6 must be unlocked via Championship or via inputting a code. So what does that actually mean for the content and lifespan of the game? It means that the game suffers massively because there's only 6 courses, there are no vehicle selection options at all, no customization options, nothing to unlock as the game progresses, and of course the biggest crippler is the fact there is no 2-player split screen. Like I've said in many racing game reviews so far, not having a 2-player option is a massive crippler. That would have been a massive plus point for this, because the game is so difficult in 1-player mode. Having a 2-player mode where you're both messing up, both falling off the track all the time, it would have been far more fun and far more enjoyable. But without it, and the fact there's hardly anything in the game really, the game has a terrible lifespan. So that leaves us with 2 final questions. Is Scorcher still worth playing today, and does it make our Sega Saturn top 10? Well, you can probably guess my answers to both of these questions, because I'm going to tell you I don't think Scorcher is still worth playing today at all. It's frustratingly difficult. There's not enough variety, there's no content really, and there's no 2-player, meaning it's more of a curiosity than a necessity in this day and age. And of course, does that mean it can make our Sega Saturn top 10? No, it's nowhere near. Shining Force 3 still sits at the top of that PAL top 10, nice and proud, and Scorcher probably wouldn't even get into the top 50 games in the PAL region, in my opinion. But of course, these are my opinions and mine alone. I'm always interested, I should say, to hear what other people have to say about the games that I review. So if your thoughts are different, or if you agree, let me know with a comment down below. Did you buy Scorcher upon its release back in 1997? Let me know. And as always, I'll be back in the near future with another Saturn review. Goodbye for now.